Okay, so I basically, on my apple peeler, I peeled 7 apples. It's probably going to take 7 to 8, sometimes 9, depending on the apples. These are galas. The best apples to use are gala, but you also can mix them up, like some galas, some Granny Smith, something like that. Maybe like 2 or 3 different types of apples work really good. Stay away from like Red Delicious and the stuff that you would just normally eat. They don't make good pie. They're not sweet enough and they fall apart too easy. Now that I've got three of the apples cut up and diced into the pie, this is pretty important. It's about halfway up. You're gonna take, I've got I got a measuring scoop of about 1/3 of a cup, but we're not gonna use it all. All you're gonna do is you're gonna dust some flour about halfway up the pie, that much. I mean, it doesn't take much at all, but all that's gonna do is if the apples are really, really juicy, that's going to absorb some of that juice. So when you cut it open, when you go to serve it, it doesn't run all over the place. I also have about a half a stick of butter. Everything's better with butter on it. And you're just going to cut them up into small slices and you're just going to go around the inside the pie like so. Spacing them out. And that's unsalted butter too. You don't want to do salted butter, it'll taste too salty. And now, this is the scary part because everybody's always afraid of the sugar, but you gotta have sugar if you're gonna have pie. So I'm gonna use the same 1/3 cup. I'm gonna take 1/3 cup and I'm just gonna go around and just keep trying to do it as evenly as I can, all through the pie, around the edges, through the middle, like so. Then you take your cinnamon and I just sprinkle it on the top. Now if you like more cinnamon, put a little bit more, but we're gonna put a little bit more on the top here in just a minute. And then we finish up. If you see how I cut my apples, I just cut them one way, cut them again, and then I go around inside the pie, spreading that apple all over the pie. And again, it keeps, if this was a totally bad apple, which I hope it isn't, I don't think it is, if you put it on one spot, you're gonna have that bad apple taste in one spot of your pie, and I don't think anybody wants that. But again, you're just gonna keep going around. And it looks like it's getting kind of full, but again, you need to push these down a little bit. Remember, that's all gonna cook down. And I may not need all these apples, you never know, but I peeled an extra one just in case. But I always like to try to get it all in there. Don't like to, I guess I could eat it if we don't use it. But, and you do, some people like to bake their pies so that when you put the top on it kind of, not me, I like it full. And pushing it down a little bit, like so. Go back to the sugar. Grab another heaping cup. It's 1/3 of a cup again, so now there's 2/3. Go around it again. And I always like to do a little extra. And I always do a little extra because it's for my mommy. God bless her soul. Oh, and then you take the cinnamon again. And there's the inside of the pie. Okay. And now the last step. All I did was I took my pie crust for the top. I did it exactly like I did the bottom. I put with the saran wrap. You don't have to put the pan no stick spray. It should be on there good enough. Rolled it out. I took a glass of water and I just dipped my finger in it, and you've got to have some water on the edge of the outside of the pie. So when we put the top on and we crimp it, it'll seal. Okay, so I'm gonna move this over again. I'm gonna take the saran wrap off the top. And we're done with this now, so I'm gonna wad that up and put it over there. And all I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take this and pick it up and lay it right on top, like so. Take this saran wrap off. Okay, and again, I like to fold back and pinch and just work my way around. Now if you like, I like thick crust because I like the crust. So I'm just going around and I'm not pinching anything yet. I'm just kind of pushing it down, not real hard. You'll see that it's pretty easy to go around the pie. Some spots will be a little bit thinner again because like it's not a perfectly round pie crust. I'm not that good yet. I see grandmas who do it really good. Well, they probably got about 30 years of pie making on me, so I'm still working on it. Now this might be a little thick on this side, so I'm just gonna kind of cut that off a little bit, like so. I'm gonna continue around. I'm just gonna put those pieces in there. Now I'm gonna go around this time and I'm gonna kind of pinch a little bit harder because I'm putting that seal on that edge to make sure those two pieces seal together where I put the water. Okay, so now it looks like that. And now the easiest way I know how to, there's all kinds of ways. You can do it with a fork, you can do whatever. All I do, take my two fingers, and my other finger, and I open it up and I just keep moving. I just keep pushing. Now this same dough recipe, if we were making chicken pot pies, homemade, it's the exact same thing. You can use this same dough recipe to make the crust for homemade chicken pot pies. And there it is. The last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut some vents. Again, I'm gonna make the one in the center kind of big, and I'm actually gonna push this back a little bit. Now there's this little thing called pie vents, and they're really cool. They look like birds. They used to set them down in pies so the steam could go out. But I'm gonna open up a couple more. And the reason you want several of them is because once that pie starts cooking, all that sugar and cinnamon and all the sugars in the apples are gonna start oozing out of here, and these vents are gonna actually get sealed up. So you wanna have several. Now, some people put a little shaking of sugar on the top. I don't do that until I'm halfway done baking it, because if I put sugar on the top right now, it's gonna go down in the holes and it's gonna seal it up even more, and then the steam can't come out. And what'll happen, you'll have blowouts, like the side of the pie will blow out here with the steam. So you wanna make sure, like I said, you cut these vents and you get them fairly wide, and you're like, well, that's not gonna look pretty. It'll look just fine because actually this dough will cook. And you can hear that when I was rolling the top of the pie, I actually turned the oven on, 350. Gonna go in the oven now for about an hour, constantly keeping an eye on it. And I'm gonna set my timer for 35 minutes because that's probably when I'm gonna come back and put the sugar on top. And we'll come back in a little bit.